Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Williams here. So kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. We have the one and only progressive Houston activist, board member, all of that kind of stuff, discussing charter schools. We're going to be discussing quite a bit of stuff. She's going to kind of lay the law out as far as some of the stuff that Houston Independent School District. And let me tell you something, folks. For those of you that are national, this show is not only important to Houston. This show is important all over the country, especially since we have, being our, who am I talking about? The person who runs education and now, what's her name?
I don't want to say her, the one who can't answer questions, and I don't know how she got confirmed. I think her last name starts with a D, and I think E in it.
You don't want to say DeVos, do you?
But she probably can't spell her own names.
Yeah, but we're really talk some issue. But before we get started, my one and great producer extraordinaire and the program director of this station, Senor Don El Panteon. How you doing, hermano? Tell me, why are you laughing?
Because you roll the R and everything's just, I am doing good.
It
was just, the contrast made me laugh.
Yeah, he likes to, he's very nonchalant. He's so darn good, he just wants to say, I am good. But it's okay. Folks, we're going to get with the program. But this is a very, very serious program. We're talking about our kids here. We're talking about charter schools, something that I patently hate. So let's go ahead and get started with the program. The title of the show today, Houston's member Jolanda Jones discuss charter schools. Tú eres una latina, eh? Un poquito.
Sí.
Okay, here we go. And it goes this way. Parents and activists in Relentless. They watched many of the board members of the Houston Independent School District only sell them out, but treat them with disrespect and disdain, and dispatched the police to forcibly remove them from the open meeting. They forced the police into an act where two progressive heroes, Kandice Webber and another woman, were arrested. In other words, they could have potentially the entire life outcome of one of their own constituents. Sensibly, the district attorney dismissed all charges. This is just a Houston issue, folks. So my national listeners, this is not just a Houston issue. So please listen keenly. Remember that if you're listening on Facebook, please do remember to share this stuff, because this is existential for our kids, folks. This is a national issue. As the plutocracy contorts politicians from school boards to senators to presidents, unless we wise up and staged as one, they will win and move us continually to indentured. For whom? For the benefit of who? From our children as raw material to pilfer our tax dollars via charter schools to drive ourselves. We must keep our eyes wide open to the scourge that is a sect in the financial sector that sees most of us as nothing more than commodities. But today, we will discuss charter schools. We're not going to get into all that deep stuff we're always talking about, but we're going to talk about this deep stuff. Charter schools with the Houston Independent School District activist board member, Jolanda Jones. Thus far, she has not disappointed us at all. She has always been an activist. I remember her out there with us at the Occupy. You were a part of the team.
When I was on city council. And we occupied Tranquility Park.
We occupied Tranquility Park. And when we were about to get into trouble, given that she's a lawyer.
I made sure y'all didn't get arrested.
Yeah,
and if you did, I made sure you had a lawyer.
Right. She came out there and said, hey, can do X, Y, Z. So, you know, we appreciate that.
I think I was the only city council member who came out there.
You were the only one. Actually, you're the only one that came out there. So, I mean, you have some, so that's Miss board member. You have some brownie points. Okay. Thus, she has not disappointed us. In fact, she is here. Jolanda does not need introduction, but for our national listeners, here we go. Jolanda Jones is one of Houston's most well-known former city council members, grassroots political activist. She starred in both the CBS Survivor series. Man, I remember that.
Survivor Palau.
Yeah, but you know what?
I scared people. I
you
know.
Scared the people.
I don't know.
I
why.
remember that.
Pink
you know,
is my
that's scared them. Anyhow, she and Survivor series as well as the show Sisters-in-Law. She was recently elected trustee on the Houston Independent School Board. Jones is fighting the fiscal taxation battle and much more as it relates to the education of all Houstonians. But before we get started, I want to remind you guys that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are Think Wing Radio with
Mike Honig on Mondays at 2 p.m.
Partisan Gridlock with
Jeff Berg on Fridays at 3 p.m.
Open Journal with
Dwayne Bradley and crew on Mondays at 6 p.m.
And then, of course, there's Jazz Cuban Latin Jazz at its best, hosted by
Juan Flores on Tuesdays at noon.
And you know, well, I didn't fix it, so I'm going to say it the way I always say it.
Fix Mike Honig. He is now at 2 o'clock on Mondays.
Well, you got to tell me this stuff, program director extraordinaire.
I forget. Sorry.
You can't, we can't, you're making me look bad.
I'm just busy, I'm sorry.
I know you're busy. Okay, The Human Condition at 3 p.m. followed by Minstrel Show with Don and Dwayne at 4 p.m. on Fridays, KPFT at G3 site. Check out our full schedule at kpft.org where you can find programming to politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is listener-supported public communication. So please remember that if you like what you hear, visit KPFT.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that adds news, programming, and information not influenced by whom?
The corporatocracy.
Absolutely not influenced by the corporatocracy, buddies. Anyway, I want to hear your thoughts. I want you guys to interrogate our one and only Jolanda Jones about this stuff at the
interrogate. I've been interrogated.
You are on the board, my dear.
You're right.
You are on the board. You represent us, my dear.
Right.
Absolutely. So anyhow, folks, I'm sorry for not being enough to the mic. Let's go real quickly to the blog of week because we want to get to hear from the star today.
It's time for the week.
Houston parents and activists stopped board no to charter schools. But you know, after I spoke to Jolanda in detail here after I wrote this, so there's a bit of a stuff I want her to clarify later on because there's some specific legalities that we are going to have to go over, folks, because you know what Politics Done Right is all about, just fact-based information, brothers and sisters and everybody else. Tuesday night was a significant day for many reasons. First of all, it showed that Americans of all stripes would activate when some action by their politicians have an immediate effect on their lives or the lives of their families. Secondly, it showed that when the fear of the masses is made evident to politicians, they react in their self-interest. They execute the will of the people they stopped as Trump tries to undermine it every day. I think Jolanda is going to have to do some expressing on some issues there because now we'll continue later on that. The fight did not come easy. The board used heavy-handed tactics in its attempt to silence the constituents who did not want their schools to become charter schools. A board member can be heard saying that members of the board wanted to go to the closed session. In fact, they didn't allow Karina Quesada Leon to finish the few words she had left after her time expired. The board president, Rhonda Skillem Jones, called the police to remove her constituents. That should never have been done. Shortly after that, another board member can be heard saying, clear this effing room. I am sick of this, you know what. That board member acted as if she was annoyed by those who elected her. Annoyed by those who elected her. The short story is that the Houston Independent School District Board was attempting to turn over 10 low-performing Houston schools, the charter schools run by Energize for STEM Academy. Later, I understand that there was another one in contention as well. The community did not want that, and they effectively stopped the board. Two heroes, Kandice Webber and another woman, were arrested as they objected to the attempt of the public school coup. The prostitution of 10 public schools in the Houston Independent School District, all charges were dropped, which is very important. Daniel Cohen came on to Politics Done Right yesterday, and he gave a real description of what occurred and some solutions that many of it could have been done at that board meeting, or that the board could have done. I had some discussions here with Jolanda.
At some point, you need to let me
finish.
Okay, because
yes.
I'm being quiet in this your show, and I respect you. You know,
Absolutely.
I think 9.999 times out of 10 we're going to agree on stuff.
Yes,
but you got underlying premises that are just
that's
wrong.
fine. And you know, that is
because the board didn't do anything.
One of the reasons that I brought you on is because we only talk fact-based information, and for all the things that you hear me say are things that are out there. So if there's something to be clarified, that's your job to clarify. You're a board member. You're the representative.
So I absolutely. They say the board did this. Let me be clear.
Yes.
I had no clue the president was gonna end the meeting. I had no clue in advance. That's the first thing.
Right.
And if you look at the board, whenever the meeting ended, when all the melee started, I was asking my colleague next to me, what just happened? What are we doing? Because I saw people getting up.
Right.
So I was trying to figure out why people were getting up. And she was like, the meeting just got, I guess, I don't remember her words. I did not get the feeling that the meeting was turned, which from what she told me, the person is Sue Dygard, who sits immediately to my right. She said, we're going in a closed session. I didn't even hear that. So I didn't even know that.
Right.
Right. So when you say the board did something, I did not know that the president was going to tell them to clear the room. No, because I didn't interrupt you.
Okay.
As you said, the board did this.
Yes.
I'm a part of the board. I got real problems with that.
Okay.
Okay. Decorum.
Yes.
The president is the only person who controls the microphone. Let me be clear. The only reason I know this is because I'm the first vice president now. And so when she's not presiding over the meetings, since I'm the first president, I preside. She controls the mics. So when I speak, whenever she turns it on, right? So we don't control stuff. So stop saying what the board could have done. I'm not finished because the board could not have done that. And when she called the meeting and we went into closed session, there was nothing we could do. I don't have authority. It's not written where I or anybody else could go and grab the mic and overturn the president. So all I could do after standing there lost, like, okay, what do we do now?
I want to correct myself. That's why I want to talk. Okay. So may I talk on the show?
Well, of course you may, but
right,
I'm getting blamed for stuff that I had no concern.
Folks, let me tell you.
Okay.
About the board, I'm speaking generically, not specific thing to blame a Jolanda Jones or anything like I told. Like
what is. If you say it, it's on air. If you make the face, if you do whatever. And they didn't want for me. And I actually threatened my colleagues when they tried to pass this agenda item. They shoved it on the agenda and saying that we couldn't record. And I told them all I was suing everybody. I'm suing every one of y'all. I'm suing every one of y'all, and I'm deposing anybody who put their hands on this and said they supported it, because you are not stifle my First Amendment rights. And the first person I'm going to depose, Madam President, is you at the President Wanda Adams.
Right.
So let me be clear. I have been on the side of First Amendment. Okay, let me be clear. So I had no idea that. And President Jones has said many times during that meeting before she stopped it, she said many times that if the people didn't stop clapping and whatever, and she was going to shut the meeting. Now, I didn't think she meant it Like seriously, I thought she did it people down because she had said it 2, 3, or 4 times before that. How would I know this would be any different? Settle down, and then it was life. It moved on in the board meeting. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to say, I have made it clear to the board, is that I believe we violate. I'm gonna say we board, but this philosophy. I'm gonna say we, the people who come up and speak to us constitutional rights, because they say they or we, the HI
board,
which again I totally disagree with. That we tell people call names. I don't think that there's a violation. Clearly, I believe you cannot call kids names, children's names, but grown folks, they can call names. Said this from the board. The board is that I'm not like constituent and not on the board because I speak at the board. And I said a name and stifle me or take me off I would sue them. Absolutely, I would. So I'm on your side. But what I'm saying to you is this: there was nothing that we could do to stop that. I didn't even know somebody was arrested till we were in closed session, and my girlfriend texted me, and give a shout out to my girlfriend Cherie, evidently, because she said, I found this out later, once my live feed turned off after the meeting got shut down, I couldn't turn my live feed on closed session, so she went and found somebody else's live feed, and she saw people arrested, so she literally, y'all arrested 2 people. And I was like, oh crap. And I can't say what I said in closed session because it's closed. Yes, it's closed. But that's when I found out that we arrested people. I didn't even know anybody was arrested. So the thought that I was somehow complicit in this and I stopped something is BS. And how can I stop arrest if I don't have happened? And I will also say this, since I'm the vice president, if president has to step away, and I only found this out when I was looking at the Isaiah, or that President Jolanda Jones and Elizabeth Santos stepped out of closed session in order to find out about what was going on. I didn't know the stuff was, but when she stepped out that meeting,
you did.
Moi, people were blaming me not coming out to support the people when I was actually running the meeting and I didn't know stuff. So I want to pull my hair out, to pull out because there's so much misinformation.
I want look. Let me first say something, because I said this to a couple of folks before on to the show that were out there.
And I want to say this. Yeah. I asked that night once I found out they were arrested.
Yeah.
Because I am a criminal lawyer. Right. I contacted people. Administration, NHSD as administration. I contacted Kim Ogg, who's the DA, and I explained to people in the administration how we couldn't. I thought that we created the emergency. That's my assessment of what happened, and I don't think we should be able to create an emergency or even a dangerous situation and blame people when things go wrong. And so I told us, this is what we can do to kill this. I told the HISD we cannot prosecution of prosecution. I mean, affidavit prosecution. We would be the complaining witness and legal the victim. And we can also contact the DA's office and ask them not to accept charges. So this thing needs to go away. And when I said that, so I don't want for people to say people didn't things. This happened really late at night, right? So the business day is closed. So based on what I know of the office and school board, there wasn't really anybody you could call the other night. So the soonest anything could be done really would be the next morning. All
right, Jolanda, let me tell you what I want to do.
Okay.
Move this completely off. Because when you came in the studio, there was no blame there.
Well, but you said the board, and I said on the board.
I understand that, okay? But there's no blame. And what I want to take the focus off of Jolanda Jones, as far as I'm concerned, I have no problem actions of Jolanda Jones board. Okay. And for all my listeners, I have no problems with the action. So I don't need the defenses. Now that said, what the people in the district need to find out is, first of all, to charter schools, is this a issue?
This-
Do we
this-
stand with this?
This is a closed issue. This is a closed issue where you rank any charter plans. Let me go back and tell why we were in this position.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that's an important.
Okay. Let me tell you. So let me be clear. When I ran for the school board in 2015, I had we were facing takeover.
Right.
Like none. Nobody talked about it. And then whammo, I inherited
Got it.
Okay. So in 2015, when I was running for office, a bill passed.
Or no.
No, House Bill 1840.
1842.
Okay, and so that is a bill that says if schools are IR being improvement required for 4 years or more, then there are certain sanctions.
Right.
Right. And the sanctions are either one, there are 2 ways to get out of the sanctions. Right. So the sanctions are that either the TEA commissioner, whose name is Mike Moran, 1, replace the board with a board of managers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the sanctions. Or 2, close the offending schools.
Right.
Okay, so those are the only options
Mm-hmm.
that the commissioner has. There are no other options. I'm going to say that again, all of which are terrible. Either replace the elect with a board of managers or close the offending schools. So that's what we were facing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that these two options don't have 1880 Senate bill. It's a Senate bill.
Yeah.
It's a Senate bill. It gives the opportunity to try to save youth options. So the first way to do it is to come out of IR,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
To do it, to partner with some organization, whether it's a charter, whether it's an entity that's approved. All the entities have to go through charters. I mean,
Right. They're
it's
charters.
like
Yeah.
the equivalent of charter.
Right.
Like they have to jump through the same hoops. And so those two like mandatorily pause accountability for 2 years.
Right.
So if you do one of those 2 things, IR, get them off IR or partner charter, then there's nothing they can do. They cannot replace you with a board of managers.
Right.
They cannot close the offending schools.
Right.
1880.
That's the law.
That's the law.
Okay.
That's just the law. There's
Right.
no ifs, no ands, no buts. The only thing that could potentially save you, I mean, and then there's a third option, but it's not mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
It's discretionary. You could close the school yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you close the school yourself, which is when you heard us talking about closure restarts,
Right.
that's discretion on the part of the
TEA.
on the part of TEA. They
They can allow you to do that or not.
or
Right.
it's totally discretionary.
Right.
Right. But when TEA closes you, the school closes, the name change. If the school reopens, it's going to be a different school with a different name. So we have Philly, Evan Word, and we have schools that have historical significance to us. So if we did a closure restart, at first we were given like wrong information. I'm just telling you from the board because I was under the impression that three ways could get you out of it: get us out of our partner with some entity, or do a closure restart. Well, it turns out the closure restart is there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my bet, based on everything TA has done to us, that they're not going to give us any of it out, right? And so we were concerned about the name changing.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want the names to change. So when legal advice that we were going to close the schools in June when school ended, so there wouldn't be any summer school or anything, and then we were going to reopen it in August.
Right.
So all you'd miss is summer school, but technically we thought we met the requirements of the law. Well, one, it was discretion, in my opinion, thought that we had found a loophole.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, no, you can't do that because
Right.
it's thwarting whatever.
Right.
But when I went out to my communities, I had 3 schools that we were going to do plans with: Madding, Blackshear, and Cullen. Cullen's wasn't a 4-year IR, but it was struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just figured when I say we, I'll say the academic department,
Mm-hmm.
the position in the district. And so they said, no, we don't want closure restarts. Like, we don't want them,
Mm-hmm.
like, at all. So that only left us with either getting them out of IR, which we don't think is going to happen with all the schools, or doing a partner. So then we were going to do something with the city, which is not a charter. We're going to do something with the city.
And how was that going to work?
Well, it didn't. I mean, I wasn't a part of the negotiations, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out. Mayor Turner came out with a statement. I'm not going to help because it was going to be the city and TSU.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought that was a good whatever. And then like maybe, I think less than even like 2 weeks, all of a sudden, the only we had was charter.
Right.
So mind you, I'm thinking this, if they take us over, union's gonna, I mean, first of all, the kids aren't gonna get educated because they're not gonna change funding. That's what TEA is really mad at us about, I think, because we finally looked at the way we fund the schools and it's inequitable. We want to keep the schools that are getting all the money, getting the money, and they could care less about the schools that are historically disadvantaged, which is why they're IR in the first place, right? So all of a sudden we're faced with this as a board. If we don't charter and we don't get every school out of IR, then they're going to, one, replace us with the board of managers, two, close the 10 schools. So neither one of those do I want, right? But so I would have, with my nose closed, chartered if I thought it was a charter that I believe would be as close to us as possible, because I do not believe that a management company cares a lick about addicts, Blackshear, Cullen, Wheatley, all the schools that are struggling, because they're Republican. And I mean, I think they are destroying public education in Texas, and that's who they would put over us. I mean, they had conservators over North Forest. What'd they do? They closed it. And then they told us they were going to give us, TEA told HISD that they were going to give us money to take in North Forest. Then they gave us North Forest, which had failing schools they couldn't even save with their experts. And not only did them to us, they didn't give us money. So the money that we had for our taxes had to be spread even thinner with struggling schools.
Isn't that illegal, though? Yeah, I mean, that's a district that they merged with you, right?
No, Texas law that was passed by a bunch of Republicans allows them to do that. TEA can do that. We didn't say, oh, come welcome North Forest, come in. We were meant to take North Forest, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? But what I am saying is you can't give us a whole school district failing. Don't even give us money. So we have to take the money we have, which has been less on our schools that we had, and then we're getting in trouble for the schools in North Forest trouble. So my point is, people think it's white and it's not black and white. And so I was willing to do that. It was very difficult because TEA literally did not tell us what the rules were of charters or these partnerships until like 2 weeks before the vote. So we think, okay, if we do this, this may work, but they haven't given us the parameter. Then we come in and then they're like, no, that's not it. You can't do that. So people mad at us as if we've had all this time to think about these things. We have not. Up until 2 days before and I'm saying we, the administration, because it wasn't me, we're talking. We thought we were going to have to deal with this.
I want to interrupt you here.
Okay.
I hear all of that. That makes sense. Now that the entire educational in Texas is screwed up.
Really, you think?
No, that's definite. Here's, we have to hold the board accountable. And when I say the board, I'm talking all 9 people. And that is, we didn't know until 9 weeks. Anything, a two-head or whatever. These are elected positions that, first of all, I wish these were elected positions that people paid for. In other words, that you got paid for, and it wasn't that you didn't get paid to be a board member. Because here's a problem. I don't accept as an excuse that TE is told us this 2 weeks ahead, just gave us 2 weeks. They did. No, I understand that. I understand that. But I'm looking at why isn't the president of the board more active? Hey, what is going to, when I say more proactive, talking about going out there and if the information, not waiting for the information to come to you, but going ahead and get the information.
Okay, let me be clear.
Yeah, go ahead.
See, you're under a whole bunch of exceptions.
Right.
The person that speaks to us, the board, about TEA is AJ Craybill.
That's fine.
So we go to AJ. We will ask AJ a question. He will tell me the answer to this question today, X. Right. I'll go tell somebody. I talked to AJ, and he said this is this. And he'll go, somebody else is Y. And then I'll go talk back to AJ, and he was like, well, no, that's not what I said. So please do not believe that we're not going out there not trying to figure out what we can as fast as we can, and they purposefully tell us stuff. And if you would have come to the meeting at Emancipation where you would have seen AJ Crable answered not one question to the entire who were asking him questions, and he doesn't answer questions. So you cannot hold it against me, because when I ask a question, AJ Crable does not give us the answer. You cannot do that. I will not allow you to do that.
Jolanda, what I'm saying.
And it's for the whole board.
No, I understand that. Here's what I'm saying, and this is very important. We know we have a screwed up educational system, and as far as asking him questions, let me ask you this: aren't these laws ratified? Aren't they?
No, they have no. And are they to me?
Yes.
No, they're not. I told you, to this day,
right.
We have no what the new grading system is that we're going to be judged on at the end of this school year.
It's not written down.
No,
anywhere.
It's not.
Really?
It's not.
That is our educational system.
It is not. So how are you going to be evaluated? Wouldn't you like to know what the standards are for you to be evaluated, to see if you get your year-end bonus, to see if you get to keep your job a whole year, just thinking, well, maybe this is good for me, or this is going to count for me. And then at the end, they come and say you had to have done this, and then you don't get your bonus because you had no clue. So I'm going to say it one more time. We have no clue, not been written, what the standards are that we're going to be judged by to know whether our kids come out of IR or not as of today.
You are kidding me.
No, so I'm upset that y'all keep blaming us for stuff.
Wait. It's not about blaming.
Yes,
stuff.
you are blaming us, and I'm telling us anything. And I ask a million questions. I'm a freaking lawyer. They don't put anything in writing. They refuse to put anything in writing, and they will come and talk with us, and the story changes from day to day.
Look, I understand that. I really do. The thing about it is this: as bad as these guys are, I would have loved for people on the board to and come to the activists, right? And have the activists have the back of the board. If
we asked you to come to the participation meeting. Some people came. If you would have been there, see, he doesn't answer questions. They don't. We say, what are we being judged on? They would tell us one thing on one day. We don't come up with the policies, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're a policy making board, but the implementation policies administration, it's clear that's what the law says. So I could have a great idea for some program in HISD as a board member. I literally do not have the right to go implement. I have to say, this is a policy we want, and then the administration has to craft the policy and vote for it, or we don't vote for it. That's how it works. Right? So we're asking, like, what can we do, like, so that we can know, so that we can meet TEA standards, because we're going to have our schools taken over because we don't know the standards. TEA comes in, tells the administration, this is the standard. We put all these resources, administrators, into crafting something that is what TEA describes to us, right? Not in writing, in words at some random meeting. And then and we come up with it, TEA reviews it, and they says, no, that doesn't follow. I mean, what do you do when that happens? So we waste time coming up with things that we think are going to need it, and we have no clue. So I think we believe that we have information that we don't have.
Actually,
I would love
to
have information, because I would like to know where the goal line is of it. And you think we're trying, and then so look from my perspective. Right. I'm an access constitutional right to have a duly elected school board. It's not.
Oh.
It's not a constitutional right. Which in New York they have a chancellor of education. It's not. In every single solitary lawsuit where they have sued TEA for coming to take over a school district and replacing them with a board of conservator has failed, is lost, because people think there's a constitutional right to have a duly elected school board, and there is not. So it is a privilege for us to have an elected board. So there is no right. So if we file a lawsuit, they take us over, we're going to lose, because there is no constitutional right.
From a lawyer. And, that is why I said, after I read my blog of the week, I had to, after we had that talk with Ardid, there are some kind of reconsiderations that we're going to have with regards to how we a particular issue, but I think, Jolanda, and this isn't a terror or anything. I think there going to have to be some, and I don't know whose fault or whatever, that's not important right now. There's going to have to be some better merging the board and the community to actually fund our system. And I'm not talking about just about HIC, because what you're telling me is something that is actually systemic. It's a systemic problem. You have to fight it. Activists have to fight it as a systemic issue.
And let me be clear. We get everyone in the city of Houston to be on our side, okay? Theoretically, we could convert everyone to be as progressive as we are. And we could, in every elected official in Houston can be the most progressive Democrat that Democrats can be. And Texas will still have the same screwed up laws because it's about numbers. And I will tell you, most people in the country and in Texas are clueless like I was when I was on Survivor. When I was on Survivor, I had not looked at the show.
Right.
I did not realize numbers game.
Right.
Yes. I did not realize it. So I was in an alliance of 3, a really tight alliance of 3. But on a team of 9, 3 will never be anything.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter if every elected official in Houston, every elected official in Dallas, every official in Austin, and every elected official in San Antonio, because those are the pretty urban areas, were really progressive Democrats. We would lose in the legislature.
That's why I said systemic. And,
yes.
and meaning it's not something that we're going to solve in Houston, but elsewhere. So what I'm going to do is go to the callers, because, we're
okay.
Okay,
Right.
Brenda, let's see. Brenda, come on in line 3.
Hey, Brenda.
Brenda, Brenda? Okay, let's go to Ali line. It didn't work here. Go ahead, Ali.
Yes.
Hey, Ali.
Hi. First, I want to say that I was there from the beginning of the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and it was quite bizarre, to say the least, from the standpoint of the board itself. For the board to come out at 6 o'clock and say they're going to have a closed door or executive session, or want to call it, and we sit there until 8 something, 10 or 8:15, 2 hours and 10 minutes later, and they come out expecting people to be just like little school children. It's ridiculous. And for when that happened, when they went out initially, see, it didn't happen all simultaneously, and nobody knew what was going on. Everybody in that building knew what was going on. The custodian knew what was going on.
What was going on, Ali?
Go ahead, man.
No,
ahead.
Ali, I'm asking you
to tell me.
No, Ali, can you what everybody knew was going on?
Yeah, I'd like to know.
Everybody knew by step what was going on. This is what was going on.
But what was going on? I'm curious.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But I believe you know. So when y'all came out and sat in the seat, already sitting at 6 o'clock, the lady, the president announced that y'all was going into executive session. When she said that, everybody in the audience said, "What's going on? What's going on?" And I know you heard that. Not only you, the rest of the board members, the audience say, "What's happening? Where y'all going? This is illegal." In fact, you was one of the last ones that you pulled a lady over to the side by the steps and started talking to her. Then y'all went in the back.
Okay, let me let Jolanda answer, Ali.
Okay, so let me.
She already talked, brother. I ain't talking. Go ahead. This your show.
So let me say this. So we okay. School board. The president runs everything. The president,
yes, ma'am.
Right? So they come. So they come up
I
with the agenda, right? So they come up with the agenda.
Let her one at a time.
So they come up with the agenda, right?
Go ahead.
So I was told they called a special meeting. Because I'm in meetings all the time. They called a special meeting. They told us to be there. I think the board meeting started 6 maybe, because it had to be in the afternoon. In the evening, I had court, and so when we sat down, they said that on the agenda, I did not create the agenda. They said we're immediately going into executive session. Okay, whenever we have board meetings, there is executive session. This is not something that I created. When we go into an executive session, this is called closed session. We are not allowed to talk about what goes on there. We did personnel stuff. Like we have.
Okay, I think let me just ask about for Ali, and maybe I can ask.
I can ask for myself.
No, Ali.
But you never talk.
Okay, Ali, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Ali, please go.
Saying it again, but you go ahead.
No.
I'm saying, but we did some personnel stuff, and
but you told us this, Sister Jolanda. Can we talk? Can the people talk?
What I'm saying,
all of this.
I didn't talk.
Now go ahead.
I just talked about personnel. I didn't talk about personnel before that. You asked, like, what do we go in? Whenever we go into exec, we cannot talk about personnel issues in public. It's against the law. So when we change staff or terminate contracts or whatever, all the different things we do, we did that. That's
okay,
normal.
My only thing with that particularly at the meeting, okay, is given you had the anxiety with all the people out there, what kind of communications could have occurred to let the folks know that there wasn't, when these people talk transparency, what a lot of folks are talking about is at least tell us what you're doing. And I think that is where, and Jolanda, this is not on you. As you said, the president controls the motion.
You have already said that to her.
Sir, Ali, my friend. Ali, I understand, sir. Let's
but
communicate.
It's my understanding that the agenda is posted. So, I mean, you want us, are you asking us, Mr. Ali, for somebody to read the agenda?
I'm not asking you. I'm trying to say something. Why you just said that?
Okay.
I'm not asking you. You're a lawyer. You know I haven't asked you a question.
Okay, what do you want to say, Ali?
Good God Almighty! See, this is the problem. We have politicians, and I'm not talking about just if she ain't by herself. We have politicians, then we have people to play up the politicians. Then the politicians play on the people. I never asked a question since I was on the radio. Now, my thing is that after y'all went into executive session, you stayed in there for 2 hours. Totally ridiculous. You knew people wanted to talk because y'all know people are signing up or have signed up before 9:30 p.m. that day, a.m. that day. So when the board came back out, they sat down and people began to talk that, sir, you wasn't there. Before that, when they left us, they being the board, every last one of them who was there, left the stage, the people began to, I don't know if they got soundproof rooms in the board, couldn't hear. The people began to chant loudly. The chief of police, or at least the 4-star general there, asked us if we don't be quiet, he's going to clear the room, sit down and shut up. The people refused. This is how the people was being talked to. The people refused to do that. When the board came back out, we began to speak on a microphone for 1 minute, as if you could in 1 minute. So we spoke on the mic for 1 minute. A gentleman got up there, I forgot his name.
HFT, Houston Federation of Teachers.
He went over his meeting. And listen clearly. He went over his meeting, not a minute. Not only did he go over his minute, but he told the chairman of the board or president and the board itself, he ain't even finished. No one on that board opened their mouth. The chairman of the board grinned. When the white woman, lady, came up after him and did the same thing, she went 5 seconds over her time limit. The chairman of the board told the police to remove her from the stand. No one on the board protested that. They grabbed that woman and removed her from the stands. That's when Jolanda Jones was there, Wanda Adams was there, all the other members was there, the janitor was there, what was going on,
Ali.
all the members. And if it's there, you would have knew.
No, Ali, actually, I saw the entire video, and I saw it exactly as you just identified it. So I'm not I'm doing that with you, but I am.
So let
real
me
quick, because I have a whole lot of lines.
Right, but I want to respond to first of all. What I'm saying is, we don't speak unless we are called on by her. The board president, or a guy, if we have a guy president, the board president turns on our mics. We literally can't speak. We cannot speak unless we're called on. So we don't run the meetings. We don't ask people to come up. Only one person speaks. And if you watch the whole meeting, the board president is the one that was calling everybody up. We didn't say anything because that's not how it's designed.
Okay.
It's also not designed. We are not allowed to go back and forth with somebody. So even if I have a comment about what somebody said, I'm prevented from saying it because those are board rules.
Now, folks, I completely mismanaged the call-ins in 30 seconds or so. This is completely my fault. Let's go to line 2. Chris, come on in, Chris.
So,
yes, sir.
This is a pretty heated hot topic, and it's been that way for many, many years.
Yes.
We might want to get some of these kids and ask their opinions, because it seems like this is a generation where the children are teaching the adults. And it's really difficult to see this year after year after decade with HISD and some of these schools. And some of these schools are absolutely horrible. I mean, you can't, and when your child goes to school, you don't want them to be subject to the kind of violence some of these schools have to deal with. A teacher I know was hit, cursed, kicked, spit, and something has to be done. Perhaps, since you adults and all your brilliance can't seem to do it, maybe we need to talk to some of the kids and get their input.
Thank you very much, Chris. I got to go to John. John, come on in, line 5. Come on in, John.
This is Johnny.
Johnny, talk to me.
One simple question.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the bottom line is the bottom line.
Yes.
So you know where I'm going.
Yes.
I brought this topic up on the Children's Affairs show on Monday afternoons.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know, or Jolanda, as Jolanda and her colleagues or the parents who show up, who are rightly, have any of them discussed amongst themselves over time the need for us to advocate for a restoration of a national tax code, a progressive national tax code with polls at the level similar to what we had in the early 1950s, because everything we do and say is counterproductive as long as Republicans control the levers of, they control the meetings, like Jolanda said, and it's almost pointedly involved at that level. I think we need to be more involved in the finance aspect, and do they have these discussions?
You asked both of us to answer that, and I want to say that's what, Kate, in the work that I do. Now I see that I am going to be asking Jolanda and the board, given doing it like the previous caller said, having this occur over and over again is not the right thing. Jolanda.
Taxes pay for stuff, and people don't want tax increases. That's how governments generate money. I agree with the previous caller, whose name I can't remember, about schools being horrible. The problem in HISD really is that we don't have an equitable distribution of funding. We have magnet kids at DeBakey being valued at $1,225 per person, and we have magnet kids at Yates being valued at $50 per person. We have schools that they can have a work order in for 3 years and we don't do anything about it, and they're in historically disadvantaged areas. But if a River Oaks Elementary, a Poe, a Lamar, Lanier asks for stuff, we fix it immediately. All schools can have access to equitable things. And then finally, I'll say this. The other gentleman talked about how people were chanting in the thing. Yeah. We didn't hear. I didn't know any of that stuff was going on. I have no clue what the police chief said, and so
I got to move on.
Okay,
I got to move on.
Right.
Okay, let's go ahead and go to Bob, line 6. Come on in, Bob. I'm sorry.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Real quick. I don't have much time.
The road noise, but I'm a member of the KPFT 90.1
yes.
FM local station board.
Thank you, sir.
And part of our process, I think, Jolanda, when you're suggesting the president or the chairman of the board, you're basically talking about also process. We have a process on our board where at 8 o'clock on the board meetings once a month, it's the time for the public. And no matter what we're doing, we stop. We also have a process where, for executive closed sessions, there's a website, and we try to schedule those so as not to interfere with the public. So if there are problems, and also, to me, it speaks to the potential insensitivity of the president that night, that if she knew the room was up in arms and feeling angry, they might have made a statement to the public and been
Bob,
slightly more
I got to go to
courteous.
Bob, I got to go to the next call, but I want to say that I completely agree with you that the president completely mishandled that meeting. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So I agree with you on that count. All right, let me run to Wayne. Wayne number 3. Come on in, Wayne.
Hey, Egberto, how you doing?
All right,
Hey,
Wayne. Talk to me real quick, Wayne, please.
Hello, JoJo. How you
Hey,
doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Okay, calm down, sweetie. Look here. Whenever you have a meeting, and Robert's Rules of Order calls for, first of all, a sergeant at arms. A president of a meeting can chair a meeting, but she cannot call a meeting and close a meeting without the board, somebody seconding that motion. So it had to be seconded by somebody there. If nobody seconded, the meeting was still open, so it was still a publicly going on meeting. So they had to have a vote there.
Wayne, you got 15 seconds, brother. I got 2 more calls to go.
But what I called to say is, there's a lot more going on than just that. But let's keep in mind that we're not going to have Charles in Sunnyside, South Park, or nowhere.
Thank you for saying that, because that's very important. Thank you very much for
taxpayer dollars going to that.
Wayne, thank you for saying that, and that's the stuff that we got to fund, brother. That's everybody got to fight. Real quick, Jolanda.
No, I was just going to say, so you realize that Texas law, they just passed it. Well, they've always funded charter schools, but the Texas law now values charter kids $1,000 more than a charter school.
I believe that.
Okay, so this is the law. So whenever we have a kid leave HISD and they go to a charter,
it takes more money.
It takes more money from us, because if they were valued $500 here, they're valued $1,500 at charter school.
Gotta go, JoJo.
I'm just explaining.
Okay. Ron, come on in.
You need to have a show on like what the rules are of
Ron,
so
and we'll do that because we have to do this. Ron, come on in, Ron.
Okay, real quick.
Yes.
Jolanda, if you've been on city council for 4 years.
Yes.
You school board 2-3 years now.
2 years.
What can you get by your record? I mean, you said you were a fighter and all this other stuff, but you let the previous city do what he wanted to do. You let the other guy before him, the guy from North Carolina. So
I wasn't here with Terry Greer. So no, I was not here with Terry Greer, who was from North Carolina. Was not.
Okay.
Was not.
The other guy, let him play that.
Okay, Ron,
okay,
we can't go back. We got to go.
But here's my deal.
Yeah.
If the superintendent and the administration call the paperwork, so if I ask a question and they give me misinformation, I don't have access to the information. So they literally hid information from us.
Got you. Come on in, James, real quick.
Ms. Jones, I would encourage you
James.
to learn how to separate your passion from your emotions, and thank you for your leadership, in the struggle, and problems. Life full of problems, but try to bring solutions to the problem, because the problem is nothing. It's turned into trouble. You get the answer to a problem, you can avoid trouble.
Very much, James.
Thank you.
All right, let me run to last call 4. Come on in, Danny. Come on in, real quick.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you could squeeze me in. Well, I'd like to make an offer.
Yes.
I'm kind of an outsider in the Houston community, even though I've been here, graduated from you, and came back. So I'm gonna just say this real quickly.
I'll give you a minute.
I'm both involved in civil rights since the 70s, and I'm also both a military.
Danny, make your point, brother. I love what you do, but make your point.
I'm making my point. Let me talk. I like to see if I can offer to sit down in a strategy meeting with Jolanda and whoever else so we can figure it out.
You go to our page. We got to cut you now. We're at the hearts. Go to our page on Politics Done Right on Facebook and drop your information. We'll talk, brother. Folks, this is Politics Done Right. Thank you very much, Jolanda, for being here with me. And we're going to be here again because the academic problem that has to be solved. And I hope that we can work together.
And people talk about, so we have tried to put together a budget that offers solutions. The problem is it's changing the status, and we have a lot of pushback. So that's what we need to talk about so that you activists can help us equitable agenda.
Well, let's have a real meeting on that. Folks, this is Egberto Willies, Politics Done Right. So kindly for having been with us. We are out.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.